Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 10 of the Blue Knight Cast. And today I want to talk about what if GameCube does come to Nintendo Switch Online service and where that may lead. But before I do, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I have a goal of trying to reach 1,000 subscribers and monetization by the end of the year. If you could help me in any way getting towards that, I would greatly appreciate it, whether it's sharing, spreading the word. I just love to talk about video games, especially Nintendo. And I hope to grow this into something larger and bigger than what you see now. But with that being said, I'll try to cite a source in the description, but there's some FCC filings indicating that Nintendo is close to release for what looks to be a GameCube controller, like a new one, wireless. Probably going to be part of the festivities for the Switch 2 launch, whenever that is. And it's led to some speculation on the internet as to where that is going. Most likely to GameCube games being part of the Nintendo Switch Online service, where you can play old games and play them online against your friends in many cases. And just have to be a member, paid member for the service. And I believe this is possible too. There's a couple of things you can't rule out, like the simple fact that GameCube controllers usually pop up whenever you see something Smash Brothers related being released. Could we be getting a Smash Ultimate Deluxe with this new wireless GameCube controller? Could we be getting a Pro controller that happens to have a GameCube layout? I've kind of thought they should just do that for years, the way they keep bringing back the old one. But we'll just have to see what happens with that. But for right now, I'm going to roll with the idea that GameCube is finally coming to NSO. It's something I didn't think would happen, to be honest, because GameCube, and I'll save the history of the system for another episode, because I could talk forever, but GameCube was a system that it was standard definition, but when you look at some of those games upscaled to HD in emulators like Dolphin, it's amazing how well the graphics hold up even now. And the GameCube is home to many games that by today's standards still look flat gorgeous. Metroid Prime, Star Wars Rogue Squadron, Rogue Leader. There was some impressive stuff on that little purple box. And you could argue it was the most powerful console that generation, even if Xbox was probably a little stronger on paper. But we're not getting into that stuff now. My whole point is, I thought they could have remastered some of those games and kept going. Indeed, they have, with some of them. Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door for Switch. Wii U, we saw remasters for The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. We may be seeing those again for Switch, everybody keeps saying, and there's been rumored forever we get, after getting a remake for Metroid Prime, the original, we'd get some sort of remaster for 2 and 3. So there's already been talk of GameCube remakes. So what's going on here? My guess is we'll get some kind of release with GameCube. It won't be a huge number. It'll be part of the expansion pack. I wouldn't go overboard with predictions on this, but I do think they'll put out some games. And if a remake's about to be put out, I wouldn't expect the original to go on the service anytime soon. There, I said it. Now, in an attempt to just speculate, though, and sort of a thought exercise, I'm going to try to go through like 10 games I think will go onto this service. No particular order. But I'll start with Super Mario Sunshine, because I think it would be the most obvious one in a way, because one, it's the 3D Mario game for GameCube. Two, we've already seen it once in that Mario All-Star Collection emulated and working. And they were able to make it work even though modern Switch controllers don't have the analog triggers that the GameCube controller has. But if you're making a GameCube controller, why not? I just think that's going to be like obvious day one in the lineup. And it's a Mario game, so you can't call me crazy. The next one I would throw out there, well, there's two that are pretty obvious to me. Another is Luigi's Mansion, because that's the one that actually launched with the game. And I'm not really a big fan of Luigi's Mansion series. I'm not against them. But I do think, yeah, if you're going to have a list of 10 games going on to the NSO to get started, yeah, it's going to be there. The third I would be much more excited for. Super Smash Bros. Melee. That's the one where you want the GameCube controller, because if you're like me and played that game as much as you did back in the day, that controller is burned into your muscle memory. I can pick up a GameCube controller today and not have to look at it or think about the buttons just because of that game. And to be real, this is one game where I thought, why haven't they done a remaster? I guess Masahiro Sakurai, creator of the series, would not want to bring back old games when he's trying to go forward with the new the way that he does. But if there was one game that I think could be remastered, it would be Melee. Its balance of play for speed and skill, it's just there's no other quite like it. Ultimate cuts pretty close. But if there was a game, I would think it would be that one. They probably, to be remastered, I mean. They probably won't, because my guess is if you see Smash Brothers on Switch 2, why am I saying if? It may be a year 2 game, like not too far off, or they might do an Ultimate Deluxe if they needed more time for it. So, you know, maybe that's too many Smash entries at once. But I could see Melee being put on the NSO while we wait to see what happens next for Smash Brothers. For number 4, I'm starting to think there's not a remake for this game as much as I want to see it. But if they don't, I hope they put F-Zero GX on this system. It is the best, the most definitive version of F-Zero for any console. F-Zero GX. Put it on there. If you want to see peak GameCube graphics, frame rate, action, F-Zero GX. That will be one of the top tier for that. A fifth game, I'll go with Double Dash, Mario Kart Double Dash, just because, you know, I'm kind of hitting the obvious ones as I go. And GameCube was one of those where, yeah, you had all the obvious ones, though. With the GameCube, you always had felt like there was always a twist. Like they tried real hard to put in a twist with every game in that generation. Sometimes it worked well, sometimes it wasn't the best entry. Double Dash, most people love the twist, I think, of having two drivers per cart that could switch seats. One handled the driving, the other serving as sort of a gunner for items and special items that character could use. But track-wise, it wasn't remembered as the best Mario Kart. So I'm not saying it'd be a headlining event, but yeah, I could see that one being a sure bet for a list of GameCube NSO games. I believe that puts me at 6 games so far. Wait a second. I believe it's 5. Another one I'm going to add into this list that I think is sort of a cult classic that I think people would love to see because it hasn't been seen since is Eternal Darkness: Sanity's Requiem. Now, it's... Sorry about that. I coughed. But it's a very unique survival horror type game. Had a very... It was not Resident Evil, that's for sure. It had a very unique story where you played different characters, different time periods. You sort of had levels and chapters that you progressed through to tell a very long, centuries-long story. With a lot of psychological horror, to say the least. And it had a weird way of playing with people's minds with these insanity effects. Like they literally thought sometimes their electronics was messing up. And it wasn't. But it had all these ways of just playing with your mind and make you feel like you were losing your mind as you played it. In a good way. I mean, this is a game that's worth revisiting. I think it would be better revisited as some sort of a remake or remaster to change up the insanity effects and make them fit the modern era a little better. But I could see this game being put there if they're not going to do anything else with it, which it doesn't seem like they are. The next game I'll give you is a unique one, and there's rumors that we may be getting another one, so I'm going to say why not. Star Fox Adventures Dinosaur Planet. I could do an episode just talking about this game, but for now I'll just say picture Ocarina of Time like gameplay with Star Fox characters, and it's a pretty game. It's the last real Rare game Rare made for the whole home consoles with Nintendo. And kind of a sad story how it come out. I'll definitely talk more about this game in the future. But do I think it could be in this lineup? Yes. So, Star Fox Adventures Dinosaur Planet. I'll also go ahead and do sort of a double take here and say that Star Fox Armada would probably get into this list as well. This was the more traditional Star Fox game. Not really. But it was more of a game where you flied around and shot things more. And it was made by Namco instead of Rare. Had some unique multiplayer that most people like and would like to revisit. It would be, with the online play NSO brings, it would be a good one if they got it running on the service. So, I'll go with that one as well. And from there, I'm going to go to another game that was started a series on the GameCube. There's actually 2 of them. But I'll start with the one that didn't exactly start one, Animal Crossing. In the West, the first entry in that series was on GameCube. I believe in Japan it was actually a Nintendo 64 game, which they then ported to GameCube for the West. But all the things you see of Animal Crossing started there. The latest entry in Animal Crossing sold big on Switch. The pandemic played a factor for sure, but I believe you would see Animal Crossing in this hypothetical lineup. If you notice, I just keep hitting this and just been dealing with like first, second party games for Nintendo so far. There really were quite a few from them that were good on this platform that you would expect to see. Truly. But I'm going to go to the left now and hit a couple of third-party games. And these are probably going to be more what I want to see. But strong chance they're there. The first one, Skies of Arcadia Legends. This was sort of a port / director's cut of Skies of Arcadia, which was originally on the Dreamcast. And a lot of people just know the name. They don't have to know what this game was about. They already know what I'm talking about. That's familiar with Sega or familiar with like JRPGs. But for those who don't, it's a JRPG, turn-based battles, 3D. Also has some unique fights of airships. A lot of exploration in airships. It's very old school in a lot of its designs, but the story, man, it's one of the best JRPGs I ever played. And it's a game I would love to see remastered or remade. You hear its name come up every now and then as a game people want to see remade or revisited. But it hasn't been. But if it was on NSO, yeah, I'd take it. Yeah, I'd play it through from front to back again. No question. No question. Also, there's a lot of third-party games I could point at for something that would be good for GameCube NSO library. But I'm going to throw an odd one out that a lot of people forget exists. Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes from Konami. Yes, this was a remake made by Silicon Knights, the same people behind Eternal Darkness. And it was essentially MGS1 redone with MGS2 level graphics, MGS2 gameplay mechanics inserted into the original game. And a lot of the cutscenes and things like that were completely redone, to the point that the game's a little divisive because everyone considers PlayStation 1 to still be canon, even if the graphics are a whole lot worse than what you see in the Twin Snakes. Voice acting was redone. But for me, that was my first real Metal Gear experience. So that one will always hold a special place in my heart amongst the Metal Gear series. And I do hope that one finds its way in as well. And just because I keep going, I mean, I could probably keep going. But I'll give you one more I'll give you two more. How's that? And I'll try to stop myself. One is one most people would think you'd have to include somehow. I don't think it would. I think there's odds against it not making it because it was already available in other ways at this point with Resident Evil 4. It debuted on GameCube. It came to other systems later, but it was supposed to be exclusive to GameCube, and then Capcom kind of changed their mind once they saw a PlayStation 2 install base. But Resident Evil 4 revolutionized the series. It's sort of in a top list of action games or horror adventure games to this day. It kind of stepped away from survival horror somewhat to favor action and adventure. That's how I would describe it. But still an excellent game. But the one Capcom game I would really, really hope to see on a GameCube NSO lineup is Beautiful Joe and Beautiful Joe 2. I'll just throw them both in. Amazing side-scroller action games. Very unique. I don't think there's one quite like them. Also products of Kamiya-san's brain. The great Hideki Kamiya, formerly of Platinum Games, now Clover Studio. I hope whenever they finish their Okami remake, they will come back and make this happen for Switch, Switch 2, any other platform they want to make it for. Beautiful Joe needs a comeback. For those who never played it, side-scrolling, beat-em-up elements, but you have the ability to slow time, speed up time. Sort of the Matrix meets Final Fight meets Mario. Because you have it all. You got platforming. You do have like a deeper brawling system than other games have, but you also use these speed up time, slow down time mechanics to solve puzzles. So it's very hard to define and put into its own little box. Pair that with some cel-shaded graphics that would upscale well. Great games, great entries. This series deserves a revival. And though I could probably keep going, because there's a lot of GameCube games worth mentioning. Chibi Robo. Doshin the Giant. Hell, why not? Put them in there. Burnout 2. Worms 3D. There's a lot of games that could go into this service and be a great smashing lineup. But I'd be shocked if you saw that many games out the gate for an NSO lineup. I could be wrong. And all it would take is a few of them to have a good time. I could blow a bunch of hours on Smash Melee if it came back. Skies of Arcadia. All I'd need is one of them to be jumping up and down smiling. If you'll notice, I did not include Metroid Prime, Wind Waker, Zelda, Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, or Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. I'm still holding those out as possible discrete releases on Switch 1 or Switch 2 going forward in the future. I predicted that in a past episode. I'm going to stand by that. But even after they released, you could see these coming on the service a couple years later, and all of those would be great. Metroid Prime 1, Metroid Prime 2, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, yes. Yes. F-Zero GX, if it still comes as discrete remake for Switch, yes. Most GameCube games really were bangers. So let's hope something happens here. Thank you again for your time, ladies and gentlemen. This is Blue Knight 7 with the Blue Knight Cast. We're closing this episode for today. If you want to comment, what GameCube game would you most like to see in the description? Or would comment below which GameCube game you would most like to see on NSO. There are so many other games we could throw in there. Baten Kaitos Origins. Lost Kingdoms 1 and 2 from FromSoft. They made those exclusive to Switch back in the day. Can you believe that? Evolution Worlds. There were some good JRPGs on GameCube. Maybe not as many as PlayStation 2, but everything it had was pretty good. Have a good day, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your time.